All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at this 2-bedroom that supposedly is like the best.
It's the Taj
kind
Mahal.
of- Yeah. The best layout that you could get.
So for my avatar, this is a seasoned professional, not a young professional, that does work from home a lot of times or wants to have a separate suite for company or kids or whatever. So we decided to separate the living space by the common space. So let's walk into the guest suite initially.
All right. Okay, so we got a bathroom off to the side that could be guest bathroom if this is an office space.
It is, and we put a little bigger soaker tub in that guest bathroom just in case it was a roommate scenario and they were sharing the rent to where this person wouldn't feel like they were cheated.
Awesome. It's a pretty good size too.
This bedroom is a half a foot narrower than the master, but it's still a big for a standard apartment bedroom. It's a good size.
Yeah.
I cheated a little bit on the closet space.
Let's see. I mean, that's not bad. It's bigger than a lot of closets that
I double
I've had.
racked it, so that helps.
Yeah, lots of light in here. That's good. It's
And
towards the end of the day.
I
and
built
it's still
this
bright.
apartment 20 years ago. So it's been a great floor plan for us.
All right. All right, let's go see this living room and kitchen area.
I love an open floor plan. We have a 9-foot ceiling, which, that's pretty much standard these days, but before 1990, an 8-foot ceiling I've even owned some apartments with a 7.5-foot ceiling. But so taking advantage of that, I wanted an open floor plan and create like separation of the kitchen from the great space with a counter bar that people typically put 2 or 3 stools here.
I like this a lot better than there being a wall.
Yes, which is unfortunately in the apartment you're in now, you can't really communicate with Cam if he's watching TV in the living dining area. So here you can.
Well, I think that's just because of the dating
Yes.
of that apartment. Open floor plan wasn't a huge thing decades ago.
To the contrary, people liked the containerization of the space so they could be off by themselves. But and then I always try to create some type of porch or screened-in patio or whatever.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And this is an urban, suburban kind of location. There's about 18,000 cars a day that come by. But we did a tree survey before I built this property and designed the floor plan of the building around keeping as many trees as we could. So even though you're in an urban kind of environment, you feel like you're in a tree house.
Yeah, if I lived here in this unit, I would be out here all the time. I would probably put my bed out here.
Not in August. Welcome to the master suite. Again, bedroom is like a half a foot wider.
Yeah.
And there's not a closet in the bedroom proper. We put it in the bathroom.
Okay. I like having closets in the bathroom because you can, change in here and not have to get a little more privacy that way. Yeah, this has plenty of room.
Then just a standard 5-foot tub. This is our basic finish. We've got some kitchens where we've done granite. We've also done simulated granite. Honestly, the Formica, it rents just as well as the others. So to spend that extra $3,000 for Corian or Formica countertop,
$3,000.
I mean, granite countertop doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Oh, there's a dishwasher.
There is a dishwasher.
Nice.
The only thing that you don't see is a garbage disposal, and that's after 20 years of, at the point I built this, I'd been in the business 20 years. And after pulling pennies and quarters and out of the garbage disposal, I decided tenants just don't really know how to run a garbage disposal.
I love that there's a laundry hookup too. That's
Every one of my 2 bedrooms has a washer dryer space and or washer dryer provided, and about half of my 1 bedrooms. If I had my way, I'm slowly but surely converting my 1 bedrooms in the older buildings to have an in office or an in apartment laundry room.
All right, well, you want to go look at the other units?
Let's go look at a duplex and a fourplex.
Sounds good.
When I bought this property, I was initially planning to tear it down. And I just felt like it had some great bones, great curb appeal, good floor plans, so decided to keep it. put a fourplex next door to it. So here's a 4-unit property. Doesn't have quite the same curb appeal, but from an economic standpoint, I think this is your target property right here, a 4-unit property, all 2-bedroom, 2-bath units. This is a duplex. This is something worth considering. I want y'all to take a look at it. It was built as a duplex, probably in the 1940s, but it's been upgraded and renovated fairly recently. And I want Cameron and I to see what kind of work they did and what's left to be done, if anything.
Yeah.
But this is a great option for y'all to think about.
I mean, this one already looks a lot more intact than some of the other properties, so.
Well, it has something really unusual. It has a 5-year lease on the other side. And that lease also, so if you buy it, you have a guaranteed tenant for 5 years.
Yeah.
And of course, anything can happen. I mean, people could have a death in the family or whatever, but all things considered, not only is it a 5-year lease, but it's a 5-year lease with something called escalation. That means every year the rent goes up, and it's either like a 5% or it's tied to whatever the consumer price index is that's written into the lease documents. And that would be something you would have to look at if you were buying this property to see.
Right.
But literally, I've done the math on this, and that rent would make the mortgage payment. So you're wanting to have a place to Airbnb and stay here when you're in town could give you the option for the income on this side over here to be able to apply to that. But you're going to have to pay taxes and insurance. You're going to have somebody just mowed the grass a little while ago. So if y'all are out of town, there'll be some money coming off the top of that. But literally, if y'all were living here and y'all were mowing the grass, you still have the taxes and the insurance, but literally this side would pay your mortgage payment. So, and in 5 years, your loan would be what they call amortizing. It would be reducing down to a point. You're building value every month. You're getting a payment and making a payment to the bank. So let's go check it out. See what you think about it.
Sounds good.
Don't tell Jen that. Oh, wow.
Oh, ceiling fan.
This is so nice. I love this. Look at how cute the fireplace is and everything.
So you were asking about it before we were filming. And it's a ventless gas log fireplace, which has about I think it's probably a 17,500 BTU rating. You can Google that. In other words, it's a supplemental heater. It's a gas supplemental heater. So you could literally have that as a, until it gets down into the 20s, which is very rare in this market.
Right.
You could literally use this if you're in this room for like zonal space heating, kind of like. So, and the ventless are the safer kind. But I love this floor plan.
Yeah.
I mean, just this great, long, room that is, I guess that some people would be setting that up as a dining room, but there's a separate little breakfast nook.
I love the color of the hardwood.
Hardwood floors are great. Now these are true hardwood floors. This is oak, and it's the smaller pieces. Usually they're like 3.5 inches for their standard size. But I really like them, and they were sanded and refinished probably 3 or 4 years ago. So, but let's go look. Let's look at the bedrooms in the back of the living space first. This is 2-bedroom, 1 bath.
Yeah, I can already tell it's bigger than Jilla's current space. Wow.
So I guess technically this is the master.
Yeah.
Because it's usually the master bedrooms are further from the front street. And I have not done the dimensions, but it looks like this room is maybe a half a foot or so. It's obviously being cleaned by the owners. This is so the other floor plan is the mirror image of this. I've been in that unit. I've talked to that tenant. The owner won't tell you all the problems and all, if there's been break-ins, what the crime is in the neighborhood. So I introduced myself to the tenant next door, and she gave me all the long and dirty, and she had her car broken into. People, this is the thing, I didn't know this. She said, well, I was hanging my fob right by the front door, and people, there's some kind of device that they can use where they can counterfeit the fob to get into the car. Fortunately, they didn't have to break my glass, but they got into the car and they rifled through and got some stuff.
That's crazy.
But she says, I've been living here 4 or 5 years. That's the only problem. A great neighborhood. Love it here. Just great space.
Well, I'm glad she didn't get her window broken.
Yes. I guess there is some lemonade to those lemons. 1 bath. For y'all that wouldn't be an issue. For some, maybe it is. It's a regular, has not been cleaned yet, but a regular 5-foot tub in the shower. I don't know about that shower head. I've seen them before, but I don't have any history with them. So you could change that out. You know, he's tall enough, he could do it with just like not even having to reach too far over his head. So a little, I think that's a hamper and pantry.
Yeah, I love
built-in.
this kind of design. I love the built-ins, even in the
That's what we
bedroom.
have in the apartment.
Yeah.
The bathroom is that built in.
I love it.
Yeah, y'all have a jerk for a landlord over there, I hear. Let's see.
He doesn't let us chain smoke.
So technically, I guess this is the guest bedroom, but I mean, there's actually more closet space. The bedroom does feel a little smaller, like maybe like a foot like narrower. But you have a double closet set up here, which is kind of interesting. So that's a standard apartment size, and then I guess this over here is another one.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So with a little, I guess that's just a little, that's not a built-in, that's just a piece somebody left in there.
I love the window, too, up here.
Yeah. So you know why that's there?
No, I've seen them in a lot of Cloverdale houses, though.
Well, and that is because there was not central heat and air. I'm assuming this property was built in the 40s, probably.
Yeah.
And so there wasn't central heat and air. There was a gas space heater in each room. So what they would do when they went to bed is they'd shut the ones off in the living room and kitchen. And in the bedrooms, they would literally just leave one or two on, and they would open those, they're called transoms, to let the hot air kind of like meander through the rest of the house, so they wouldn't wake up to a 28-degree kitchen when they got up in the morning. So.
I like how the bedrooms are on separate sides of the house.
Yes,
So,
and to my avatar floor plan that we've talked about before, I literally designed new construction for that, in that same scenario, having one bedroom, one bathroom on one side of the apartment, living space, kitchen in the other, and then the master suite.
Yeah, and they both have such nice windows. The windows are the same on both sides, so if you're wanting to choose bedrooms, you could be like, do I want the morning light or do I want the afternoon light?
I mean, I don't know if there's a little better view out of the back. This, as far as light, natural light, this is a great apartment.
Yeah.
You know, it's really a great apartment. So we talked about the transoms and the gas space heaters. This is central heat and air. There's a gas, what they call a package unit. We're going to walk out there and look at it. It's a very desirable setup, but it's gas heat, so it's central heat and air. So when I'm buying a property, one of the first things I want to make sure is that the heating and air conditioning equipment, which is a big ticket item, it's an expensive item, I want to make sure I know how much life it's got left on it.
Yeah.
So I'll go try to find the year that it was installed or the year that it was manufactured, some kind of information on the device itself that can tell me, you know, the equipment itself that can tell me roughly how old it is. And then if it's a gas package heating unit that was built not during the pandemic, if it was built during the pandemic or after, it's going to last 5 years, because that is a terrible run of manufacturing during that time frame.
Oh, okay.
Prior to that, your better models, and I would say there's 3 HVAC, this may be for another conversation, but Trane, Carrier, they're the best, I mean, for an apartment. Goodman is probably the third, so we'll look and see what it has down there. Those will last, with a Goodman being, for this apartment, it would be probably a $7,000 unit. And it's a combination, they call it a package unit because it heats and cools from outside. So you've got ductwork under the house, you see the air return right there in the hallway, you see a vent right there. Each room has its own floor vent.
Yeah.
So those units last, those 3 brands, Carrier, Trane, I've had them last 30 years.
Wow.
I've changed them out in some cases when they still work just because they're not as efficient as some of the newer ones. Goodman, probably 20 years, you know, I've bought Sanyo before, it's terrible, I'll never buy it again. We had problems in 2 years with that, it's just very, you know, but then the next thing to do is to make sure that it's the right capacity. So this is a big 2-bedroom apartment, I'm guessing this is probably close to, this is just my rough guesstimate, at least 1,600 square feet heated and cooled space. So that's gonna take a 5-ton unit. So if you've got a 4-ton unit, and we're using this as an example, if you're looking at a property and it's a big apartment and you've got a 2.5-ton or a 3-ton unit, then it's potentially undersized. Well, you're gonna have one of 3 things. You're gonna have tenants complaining because their power bills are too high, or they're gonna be complaining because they can't get cool enough in the summertime, and they're not warm enough in the wintertime. An air conditioning unit is designed to cool from 20 degrees the maximum daily temperature. So if it's 98 degrees outside, you're only going to get to 78 degrees. So before we came over here, as a little experiment, I snuck over here and I turned, today it's 92 degrees outside right now. I turned the air conditioner down to, I think, 71, which is an excessively low setting. I wanted to, it feels like almost chilly in here.
Yeah, it feels really good.
So let's look at the thermostat and see what it was able to achieve. And that may help us even before we go out there to say, okay, this unit is not doing the job, or hey, this unit seems to be adequately sized for this space.
Yeah.
Real quick, let me finish up this.
Okay.
So it's doing great.
Yeah, it's already below the 20 degrees.
Well, yeah, and that means it's actually doing better, and I should wait because that's worth saying. No, it's worth saying that.
Ready?
All right, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but I had set it at 71 on a 92, 93 degree day. It is achieving more than the 20 degree ambient temperature differential, which means that it is, before even putting my eyes on the package unit outside, I can tell you this is a great scenario. I have tenants a lot of times that are saying, I set my thermostat to like 72 and it's 76 in the apartment. And my response is, well, the usual range is 5 degrees from the hottest part of the day. So if you want it to get to 73, you better set it to 72 when you go to bed and when you get up. You can't just set it in the morning at 72 degrees and it's 100 degrees outside. There's usually a 20 degree ambient temperature differential. You can Google it, it'll tell you that. But I'm very excited to see 71 and 71 on a 92 or 93 degree day. It's doing more than the expected differential, and it's very comfortable in here, and it's achieving whatever the setting is, it's at that.
Yeah.
So here's your air return, which means you got to change a filter about once a quarter, probably no less than once. Some people do it monthly. You can buy them at Home Depot or Lowe's. They're about $4 or $5 a piece.
I would do it often with the floor ones. I would be scared about, dust getting in them just because it's on the floor.
And you can pull up the grate and you can vacuum it to maybe extend the life, especially if you have pet hairs getting on it. But anyway, so far so good. I'm really, liking what I see. Let's go into the kitchen.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting space, particularly with the space we just came from, looking like it was set up to be like a full dining room table, like that seats 6 or 8, and a living room space. But this was apparently like a little breakfast nook or something or other where you have a little table for 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever.
Yeah. I actually love this.
This could make a great little like office or recording space for your YouTube channel or whatever. And it's further off the street, but interesting little space. Then you walk it into a kitchen.
Love the built-in. Again, I say that every time.
All right, deal's off.
Yeah.
Got a problem, insurmountable.
Yeah.
Somebody drug a refrigerator across the floor, which is always a no-no, especially when there's a hand truck right there.
Ooh.
That's a $700 fix. I don't see a seam. Well, you're going to have to replace the whole floor.
Yeah.
And so because of the size, apparently the installer, the vinyl installer, just used one sheet. It was wide enough to cover the entire space. Seams are not great because they come up, they become trip hazards. You got to glue them down. And
right, especially in a wet area.
Yeah, so this is coming up, $750, something like that. Not a big deal. Not a deal killer. I was teasing you. So the appliance stays. It's an older refrigerator, but it works fine. It hadn't been cleaned.
It's huge.
Range is here, and there's a washer and dryer room that I want to talk about. It's like convoluted the way that the setup works, and there's not wheels on the front of the refrigerator, so if you try to move it or even slide it without a hand truck, it's going to dig into the new floor.
Yeah.
And so apparently the tenants that were here moved this around to make room to get a washer and a dryer back here, because look how narrow this is. A typical washing machine is 32, 33 inches wide, plus or minus. And this space right here is probably 28 inches if I had to guess. So you can't get through here with a hand truck and a washer and a dryer without sliding the refrigerator this way.
Yeah.
So
very weird design.
This owner has handled that particular situation by putting in a washer and a dryer. Now, we talked about the air conditioning. We're going to go outside and look at it. I always want to know about water heaters. And I love seeing this water heater here.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that?
Away from the bedrooms, maybe?
No, not in the attic. So in your
Okay,
apartment
yeah.
where you are, I was watching the election, and the other vestibule, not y'all's, the other vestibule, so it was November, what, I don't know, 5th or something or other,
Yeah.
2024. And I'm kicked back at 9 o'clock, and I get a call from a tenant saying, it's raining in my apartment. And I literally go over there, and a water heater
Wow.
ruptured in the attic. So we got that one cleaned up and dried up, and 2 weeks later, I'm in
raining in my
Kentucky
apartment.
visiting my grandchild that had just come, and the one next to it went out.
Wow.
So, which meant that it leaked down into the plaster ceilings, which if you don't stop the water, those plaster ceilings will come down on somebody's bed or head. I mean, it could even be worse than that. So I made the decision. I went and I looked at the dates on all the water heaters, and anything that was before, that predated 2005, I just replaced while the guys were up there, and it was a big ticket item. So, but those are gas water heaters. This is an electric water heater.
Okay.
And it looks brand new, but
Yeah.
it's really deceptive, because when you're inside in climate controlled space, they don't rust as if they're in an attic or somewhere where there's a lot more humidity. So I cheated. Sometimes you can get a manufactured date, or you can find like an energy compliance code that'll have a date like as of 2021 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't see that on that tag right there, but I got a ladder, I cheated, and I went upstairs, up on top to look down. And this is a 2021 water heater.
Okay.
So, or what I found was the energy code that it was compliant with was 2021. So it's at least, it's no older than 2021. It could be a 2022, 2023. Now, the problem with that is that was during the pandemic time frame. So
Right.
this is not going to last. I mean, if it's true to everything else I bought, like refrigerators that would last 3 years when they used to last 30
Yeah.
years. So that's an issue, but this is you just all electric 40-gallon water heater. It's going to run you, maybe $1,000, probably closer to $800 installed. That's, installed.
So what's the difference between this and like getting a tankless water heater? If you're the landlord, getting a tankless water
So
heater.
the
for a
tankless water
duplex.
heaters are, usually used for two reasons. Number one, to save a little bit of gas or electricity. But number two, where there's a long run between the water heater and a front bathroom or whatever, because when you're turning it on, it's going to take, like a minute or two or three for the hot water particularly to get out of the tank and get all the way through the pipe system, displace the cold water and that's in the lines
Yeah.
and get to the front bathroom. So a lot of times they use those as a remote heater to just give you instant hot water. And usually those are like 5 gallons or whatever. They're usually a small, small thing. Now they also allow you to turn the main water heater down and maybe save some power, that way, or gas that way. But in this case, with one bathroom and it being, so close to the kitchen, I don't really see that as a thing. But if you decide to do that, it's a piggyback thing. In other words, it'll go in line or in the plumbing
Yeah.
lines, and you can put that in the bathroom. There was a little pantry or something. You could stick it at the floor of that thing. They're about this big, and it could give you like immediate heat. So you could decide once you live here whether, okay, I'm having to wait like 3 minutes or 2 minutes or whatever. When I'm ready to jump in the shower for the water to heat up, it's aggravating. Over the course of the next 20 years, that's going to waste 6 months of my life. So yeah, I want one of those. So if I had to guess, the washer and the dryer, which, those are a washing machine this day and age is, for a standard apartment size. This is probably maybe a 4.8 capacity washing machine and dryer, which is apartment size. They're going to run the washing machine is probably going to run $600 or $700 at Lowe's or Home Depot or somewhere. The dryer is probably going to run $100 less than that. You get the pair for, $1,300, $1,400. But, I'm thinking they're new. And, I have 40 years of experience to draw on, but I also have this.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's the warranty card. So obviously the owner just put this in there, and the warranty card is still on there. So I'm guessing these have never been used before.
Yeah. Wow.
So aren't I smart? So we talked about front door access always being more desirable than having to come into an interior corridor that's shared with other tenants.
Right.
This is the holy grail because you have that. So you have the prominence of a front door. You also have the benefit, you have nobody above you stomping around that you got to take your broom and hit the ceiling. Hey, quit stomping. you know, when in some cases they're just living life. You know, they're walking on hardwood floors, and it's a
Yeah.
big guy. You know, he plays for the New England. You know, they stink these days, so it'd have to be like. And so does Kansas City. They're no good anymore. So I guess it'd be the Philadelphia Eagles. He blocks for Jalen Hurts. So he's who's Alabama Roll Tide former quarterback, transferred to Oklahoma, I think. But anyway, the next thing I think to look at is to go outside. You've got a second egress, which is,
Okay.
you know, the other thing that you always want to look for is off-street parking. Make sure you have off-street parking. Well,
Right.
your front door would go to the front parking for your guest, but you're going to want to come in from work and you want to park in the back. And so that's what this back door does. So let's go
Right.
look at that. And when we're back there, I want to find, there's three things that I still want to do and find. I want to find the electrical panel, and I want to find, because there's some things we can look at that'll tell us, you know, how old the wiring is. And I want to look at that package unit that they have here. It's a gas, you know, combo heating and air conditioning unit. See if we can find the age on it. And this is a duplex, so I want to look at the other one also, because you're going to, if it's 20 years old, you're going to be buying one in 3 to 5 years, even if
Yeah.
it's working great now. So that $7,000 to $10,000 that you got to think, okay, if I'm offering X dollars for this property, I need to ask X minus what it's going to cost me to have a reserve fund set up for when I have to replace the package, you know, plant, the package equipment. So let's go outside.
Okay.
So this is a great little mud room. I mean,
Yeah.
you're coming in from hunting or fishing, and you just throw your boots right here, and it needs to be clean. But anyway, and it is screened in, so theoretically you could read a book out here, and
Right.
you know, if you had a little
I
chair or
would.
something or other.
I would use it as like a little greenhouse, honestly. Yeah, this is really nice. I
So
like
here's
this.
your parking, obviously, and there's plenty of parking. So it's two
Yeah.
apartments, so easily 5 cars could fit back here off site, and
Yeah.
assuming everybody wanted to park back here. So anyhow, we came out to look at the air conditioning units. All right, this is a good one, which is good. That's a good thing to see.
Okay.
So not top tier like Train or Carrier, but for apartment, this is like a really good choice to make.
Okay.
So
Looks speedy.
let me find 2012.
Oh, wow.
So
Still running really good.
running good, but it is over almost 15 years old. So you probably, I would underwrite this as if I had 5 years left, and I would
Okay.
price this exact model today, and I would adjust my offering price down by the $5,000 or so that it would take to put that money in the bank and have it
Yeah.
in reserve. Let's look at the other one. This is a good unit though. Okay, I've never owned a Grand Air. I don't know anything about it. So I can't talk bad about it, but I certainly can't endorse it. So I would do some research, but let's figure out if we can see how old it is.
Okay. Right here, maybe?
That's, yeah, that's more likely. Got to show it.
2023.
Oh, good. All right, she found it. 2023. So it's a much newer unit.
Yeah.
I would think if has decent ratings, that you could expect to get at least 15 years, probably maybe as many as 20. So
Okay.
if not, again, you're looking at probably 7,000, you know, to replace
Wow.
these units. So
Let's see
So
why
the
people
water
do window
heater-
units.
the water heater, I cheated and I had a ladder and I looked from the top of it. There was a tag up there, and it referenced the energy code that it was
Yeah.
adhering to. It was 2021, so that means that water heater is no older than 2021. Probably means it was manufactured sometime thereafter, so that's good. The better thing is
Yeah.
that it's not in the attic, which we're going to go take a look at.
Okay.
We know that this unit is adequately sized to cool the apartment, the entire apartment, because we set it at 71. On a hot day, it got to 71. So I'm feeling really good about what we're seeing.
Yeah.
While we're here, let's look and see how you get up under the building.
And this little area could easily be fenced in if you wanted, I think. If you had a dog.
All right, I'm gonna have it, well, no, I can do it. Thought I needed a screwdriver. Okay, so.
You said attic?
No, this is crawl space. We're going to go into the attic as well. So there's a scuttle access. We can get up under there. This is underneath the porch.
Yeah.
So this was like not necessarily the actual foundation or slab. I'm seeing a whole bunch of broken concrete though, which is not great to see.
Right.
But so we would need, if I were buying this, I would offer a price after doing my research, and I would make my offer contingent upon me having at least 30 days. I'd probably ask for 45 to do inspections. And even though I've been in the business for 40 years, I don't know it all. I've seen a lot, but I would hire a foundation specialist to come up under the crawl up under. I'd go right with him because I don't want to put my eyes on whatever he was seeing to make sure he's not advocating something so he can get another check, you know, for something, recommending something that doesn't need to be done. But I can tell you that the floors are level, and I don't see, you know, there's a little cracking in some of the plaster walls, but that's just normal for that, the nature of that construction. But you and I are going to have to crawl up under this house and look at it if y'all are interested in making an offer on it. But let's go look at the attic. There's some other telltale things that we can see in the attic as well.
Okay.
All right, I'm thinking, because it's a duplex, these are just disconnects. Yes, so that's just a disconnect. So that means we have to find the service or all the circuit breakers must be inside. And I actually prefer them to be inside because they don't have to suffer through the elements. So if you're going to own this for 3 decades, you know, it's going to be an issue or a problem, potentially more so if those circuit breakers are outside rather than inside.
Right.
But we still have to go put our eyes on them. What I'm looking for is what the capacity is. Y'all's apartment, you know, y'all have very limited plugs, and the plugs that you have are not grounded. So my concern as a landlord is over there, that property that I own is, and I've rewired, my problem is I'm always full with a waiting list, so I have to pick and choose when I can take them offline and rewire them. So I've only done 6 of the 16 apartments, but I'm scheduled to do 2 more between now and the end of the year. They're 60 amp panels, so that is a really undersized thing where people have to hook extension cords and surge protectors where you put a hair dryer on top of a computer, on top of this or a vacuum cleaner, and all that stuff could create a surge that could cause the fuses to blow, because over there they're fuses, not circuit breakers. So we want to see a circuit breaker which has a manual circuit, much better than a fuse, and we want to know what the capacity is, and I'll show you how to do that. This tells me that it's been replumbed. PVC's been a thing for 30 years or so, but it wasn't a thing when this was built, so that means that it's been replumbed, which is a good thing. And I suspect if the water heater is circa 2021, it was probably replumbed in about 2021 when the building was upgraded. One of the things that I'm immediately noticing, or I'm noticing an absence of, and we're in a very, the subsoil here is very undesirable in Cloverdale. It's called prairie gumbo, and it just shifts, it expands in wet, it contracts in dry. But I'm looking at this run, and I'm seeing where they fixed a mortar joint that was there. The brick is actually not structural. It doesn't support the building, it's just basically a facade.
Okay.
So some cracking on the brick is normal, but where you see like a deflection of 2 or 3 inches, the brick's popping out, that's a sign that there's something structural going on, and we would have to go up under the building and make sure that it's being adequately supported. But from what I see outside in 40 years of owning these kind of things, this is solid. I mean, for this neighborhood at least, this is as solid as they come. So
what about this up here? The drooping of the...
So that's an eave. It just was not, it was not affixed properly. That is like an aluminum soffit, which is actually not permitted in, so this is a historically I call it hysterically designated neighborhood. You're not supposed to have like vinyl or aluminum soffits. That's a great product. It just was not put in properly. It was probably done when they did the renovation and just needs to be tacked back up. So let's go take a look at see if we can look at the electrical panel, find it. All right, the first thing that even before I'm looking at all the plugs, and they're grounded plugs.
Right, yeah.
So that doesn't necessarily mean that it was built with a separate ground wire, because I've seen people put those in just because it'll accommodate you know, a 3-prong plug from a vacuum cleaner or whatever with no ground. But because every one of them is 3-prong, it looks to me like it was rewired fairly recently. So, but I'll know more when we find the box.
I like how they're all in the baseboard.
So they're usually either in the kitchen or in the hallway. And I don't see it in here, so that would mean that it's either going to be in the hallway or potentially one of the bedrooms. Huh. It's not in the hallway. This is the master bedroom. I don't see it. Here it is.
Oh,
It's hiding.
okay. Yeah.
Okay, so voila. Okay, so this is not your 60 amp panel. And you know, even a layman like me can figure this out and can do a quick math. So each one of these smaller single circuits, if you can throw just one switch, that's a 15 amp circuit. 15 amp. You have 60 amps total in your whole entire apartment. These, the double switches, this is going to be for your electric water heater or for your electric air conditioner. So these are 30 amp circuits. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. So you have 120 amps. So you have double the capacity just right here than what you have in your apartment. And by the way, the ones that I've already replaced over there, I'm going to a 250, 270 amp panel box. So I think, so there's 120 amps right there, so keep that number, and let's count the individual ones. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 10 times 15, that's 150. So we're at 270 already, is that right? So it's more than 240 amps, so that's like new. This has been done, I mean, there may be a date on there.
I mean, that's good news, though.
That's great news. It's been rewired. So the other way you can tell, when we go up in the attic, we can look at some of the wiring distribution in the attic, and we can find some wires and see what you want is a product called Romex. And I can't say how old Romex is, but I know it was not a thing in the 50s, 60s. There's 3 kinds of wiring, and 2 of them are bad.
Okay.
So knob and tube, there's actually 4 kinds. Knob and tube is bad. That's usually copper, and it's not great. And the connections are really the issue. Then you've got something that came into vogue in the 50s and 60s. It's aluminum wiring. It becomes brittle after 30 or 40 years.
Okay.
It can break, it can become a fire hazard. So that's your second one that's not good. The third one that's not great, but it's better than those 2, is what you currently have with your 60 amp panel in your circa 1948 apartment that I own, where you're renting from. And it's copper, which is good wiring.
Yeah.
It's nylon wrapped copper. So that's better than aluminum, and it's better than knob and tube. So, but it's still not as good as something called Romex, which I think probably became a thing in the 80s or 90s.
Okay.
And it's a great product. So we need to look at it and see. It usually is yellow wiring, but not always. But you can usually find a manufacturer's like brand on the wire itself. This is great. Water heater's great. Air conditionings are great.
Yeah.
Other than you got a 2012 that you found, so you got to factor a $5,000 reserve that will probably come into your negotiating process. We know the air conditioner has sufficient capacity to cool on a hot ass day in Montgomery, Alabama in the summer. So all signs are like go at this point in time, but you need to go up in the attic and take a look at that. So, and I noticed a scuttle access.
Interesting spot for
Cam, you're taller than me. Can you let Jazz hold the camera and see if you can figure out how to, so that's a folding, so we got to push it that way as far as it'll go. And then that's a folding. I don't want to make it. Okay, barely cleared. Here, I can hold it for you if you can get out. I got it. Okay, let's get some. So the first thing we wanted to see is yellow wires, which would indicate potentially Romex. And I see a bunch of yellow wires, including some right here by my foot.
Oh, yeah.
And this says, made in USA. That's good. Aha! Romex.
Awesome.
So that's good. This is interesting.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
This is an indoor fogger. So somebody either was having roaches or somebody was having fleas, and they set, the tenant probably set and they had dogs, I understand, that in the prior tenant in that space, so it's probably fleas. Okay, there's been a fire here. Do you see the discolored
Yeah.
wood
Yeah.
in the back? That's not necessarily a problem, but I would probably have a structural engineer.
Right.
If I'm going to have one under the house, you know, looking at the foundation, I would have him just stick his head up here in the attic. Now, I see where all right, this is a good sign. So this is actually better than conventional 4x8 oriented strand board decking, or OSB. That's the cheap stuff. It's better than plywood. This is actual, like, real decking. And I can see the roof looks new. I mean, the roof looks 3 or 4 years old.
Good.
It's a 30-year shingle. I can tell that just from the ground. And it looks like the roofer, when he came in, replaced some bad decking. And you can also see where they enhanced some of the 2x4s. So apparently those were charred or had been damaged over there. I'm thinking maybe that's the kitchen, and there was a kitchen fire and it kind of spread forward back in the day. And you can't fix stupid. You know, I had a kitchen fire where somebody was literally frying a hot dog. You ever heard of that?
Oh, wow.
I hadn't either. They took a frozen hot dog, they grease boiling on the oven, they took two frozen hot dogs and threw it in the grease, and what do you think happened? The grease blew up, had a kitchen fire. So that doesn't, particularly with the Romex wiring,
Wow.
that doesn't mean there's an concern about electrical or whatever.
Can you require
it's just
your
something that
tenants to
you
do
just
a fire
see and you
safety
got to
plan?
ask the questions. You know, I'd have a structural engineer come by and take a look, make sure all the 2x4s are supporting the roof. It's a pretty high pitched roof. This is the problem. You see this right here?
Yeah.
Okay, that is the separation between this apartment that we just looked at
Okay.
and the apartment next door. And it's not up to code today. I know this because the Avatar apartment that we looked at, I had to build a 2-hour firewall between the apartments in the attic, which means that it is a retardant for a fire, so it won't spread any faster than 2 hours from one apartment to the next in the attic. For this to, and it's not a huge deal here, but it's still probably $3,000 or $5,000. You would need to continue those framing members up to the top of the roof, and you'd need to have a double layer of fire retardant insulation and caulking
Yeah.
to create a 2-hour rating. And that should have been done when the renovation was done. Somebody cut some corners, or anyway, I would do it. And it also creates an opportunity for you to have an issue. There's just one turbine vent. So if you continue that, and I got to find where the intake is. You got to have both inflow and outflow, and all I see is outflow right now. So we're going to have to look and see. You want to have a way the air can draw in. That's actually what those aluminum soffits were for.
Yeah.
They're drawing through those soffits. So that's your inflow, and that's your outflow. But there's only one of them. So if you build this firewall up to the roof, you've also got to cut in there's probably another $800. You got to make a penetration in your roof and put in another turbine or another outflow for this side, because you'll be blocking off the outflow from this side of the apartment if you build that wall up to the top.
Right.
So not great news up here in the attic. There's been a fire. We did find Romex, which is what we were most excited to see. I think all this trash needs to be.
Right.
Unfortunately, it's not easy. You got to trudge it through a perfectly clean apartment, you know. But I would still, if I lived here, first thing I would do before I moved my wife's furniture in, because then I'd have to be sleeping in that mud room. That's where she'd make me sleep. If I had her sofa and I'm throwing all this stuff down and carrying it through the apartment, but I would clean it out. I'm not saying it's a fire hazard, but it's not doing any good.
Right.
Now, insulation. You should have an R value of at least 31, R31 in the attic, and this is blow-in insulation. It's not great. You have three kinds of insulation, but in the attic, just basically blow-in insulation, which is a machine that sucks, you know, it's almost like a confetti machine when Alabama wins the national championship, which probably will never happen again with the transfer portal crap. But anyway, NIL. But this looks like it's it doesn't look thick enough. Undersized. So if I owned it, I would get bats, which are roll-in insulation, and I would literally fit them between the rafters, and I would leave the blow-in insulation. In my personal house, I have probably a R60 in the attic, and that saves you money over the years. You know, primarily in the summer times, keeping your air conditioning in the house below. So I would say inadequate insulation. You're going to probably look at $2,500 to put, the bats in here. You could do it yourself though. You could go to Home Depot or Lowe's and you can buy them, and you can easily do it yourself and save you half of that. but it's $1,000 or so to do both sides. You really save the power bills though. And clean up this crap that's in here and get a structural engineer up here to figure out, A, what is that damn thing right there? And B, okay, we see there was a fire, we see some new wood that was put in there. Is it enough? I mean, are you seeing any deflection in any of these 2x4s? I can tell these are this was done recently because these are not, a 2x4 back in the day was a real 2x4. It was like 2 inches and a quarter by like 4 inches and a quarter, and a 2x4 now is like 1 inch and 7/8 by, that's your 2 inches by maybe 3 inches and some fraction. So I can tell this was done fairly recently. But all in all, this is good. I mean, I would say this is about a wash. There's good and there's bad. I don't see anything other. The biggest expense potentially is going to be firewall.
Yeah.
You don't have to do the insulation, but it'll pay you dividends over time if you live here. Your tenants will move a lot less frequently if they're having lower power bills than if they have higher power bills. So I would go ahead and spend the $1,000 to $2,000, $2,800 or so if you're going to have a third party do it.
Yeah.
So, and don't forget about that vinyl floor in the kitchen, the deal killer.
So,
What do you think? I don't know. I mean, it's pretty, it's old.
Yeah.
I like the built-ins. This little room right here is interesting.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean,
What would you use it for? Like an office maybe?
everybody has a hobby. You could use that as like the little hobby area. I know, the next person moving in here is using it as like a music room. I would use it as maybe a music room, maybe an art room.
Yeah. I think honestly a big deal to me is that firewall in the attic.
Right. Yeah.
$5,000 is a big deal for that.
And another $5,000 or $7,000 for the air conditioning too. Yeah. I mean, you would love. I guess anyone would love for it to be like ready to go, like brand new. But I guess we'll just have to. Maybe we should look at some brand new properties and figure out the comparison.
Honestly, right now, this is a contender. I think this is my number one so far.
Yeah.
This is my number one. What do you think?
Well, especially since, I mean, this floor plan is like, he's been marketing it to us as like a single person or like roommate situation. But I could easily like raise a family of 4 in here. Like I could, have you
could raise a family of 4 in a van.
I know. Very, very low maintenance, but I don't know. I feel like it is plenty of room for a family. Like, if you wanted to have a family in here and like save a bunch of money at the same time, because obviously like a traditional home that's going to be 3 or 4 bedrooms for a family of 4 is it's going to be a lot more expensive, and it's going to have a lot more issues with it, and it's not going to have somebody on the other side that's paying for the mortgage. So it just depends. But also, I don't know, we're not planning on living in Montgomery, so that doesn't really matter. Us living on this side or not. I would just rent out both sides.
We'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
Let's go see Rick.
Okay.
So you've looked and you've liked.
Yeah.
But we hadn't talked price.
Okay.
What do you think the asking price or the price would be? It's actually not on the market, but I know what the seller would take. What do you think it's worth?
The whole property?
Well, yes, obviously a duplex, and so the rent is $1,200 a piece on each side. So you got $2,400 a month in income if you treat it as a traditional rental property.
Well, I have no idea the market right now, so I'm just gonna throw out a random number.
Okay.
I'm gonna say $220.
More than that.
Okay.
Give it another guess.
$250?
A little more than that.
Dang. Okay. Is it under 300?
Under 3, yes.
Okay.
$275.
$275.
So that's what the seller said he would take for it. That doesn't necessarily mean that's where your offer would come in.
Right.
For me, I know I'm going to take $5,000 off the offer right off the bat, because I'm going to have to set money aside for a 2012 package heating unit.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you're watching this and you know what one of these is, then you're old school and you should have your own YouTube channel. If you don't know what one of these is, you really shouldn't have a YouTube channel, because you haven't lived and suffered through some things like 2008. But let's do a quick and dirty. I'm going to assume a 75% loan, and I'm going to take $265,000. I'm going to say that you were able to negotiate $10,000 off the price.
Okay.
Whether or not that's realistic, we don't know, but is what we would shoot for in this case. So, $265,000 at 75%. That means that you're going to have a loan. I'm just going to bump it up. It's $198,750. I'm just going to use a loan of $200,000. And I'm going to figure out what your payment is. So we put that there. We're going to assume that you're going to get, there's a Fannie Mae loan option that gives you a 30-year mortgage, 360 months. So I'm going to assume that that's probably your best financing option.
Okay.
If you go with a conventional bank, today it's going to be a little over probably 6.5% for a rental property with good credit. So, but that Fannie program offers some lower interest rates, and Trump is really trying to push the feds to drop the mortgage rates down. So anyway, say Ralph, buy in a neighborhood where you know everybody also.
Yeah.
That's always good. All right, so back to that. I'm going to use an interest rate of 5%. And your payment would be $1,102.50.
Okay.
So that means that the rent from just one of the 2 units, and you have a 5-year lease, you have a tenant guarantee for 60 months with escalation or with rent bumps every year
Right.
at $1,200 a month, plus whatever the CPI increase is. So you've paid for your bank payment. Now you still have insurance. Your insurance is probably going to run around $1,500 a year. You're going to want something called liability protection. And for a rental property of this nature, you're going to want a minimum of $1 million, $2 million, which is $1 million per event, limit $2 million per aggregate. So if somebody's, in some cases, tenants will create a liability to try to sue you.
Oh.
And we have plenty of trial lawyers running around saying, if you've ever had a headache, call me, Alabama, call me. So you want to make sure you have adequate insurance, so I'm including liability on top of replacement cost in that estimate. Your taxes usually run in this neck of the woods a little less than your insurance. They've gone up, since replacement cost values have gone up since the pandemic, but I would say $1,200 a year would probably be your, we could pull what the evaluation is.
Yeah.
And it takes, so if you pay $260 for it and it's appraised by the tax assessor's office for less than that, it takes them a year or two to kind of catch up to you, but your taxes will go up to reflect what your purchase price was. So you'll have to factor that into your budget as well.
Right.
But this, to me, creates a wonderful opportunity for a young investor that either wants to rent both sides and make a little bit of money that could go towards your travel and your vacation or fund your business, or it could create a situation to where you could live in it, Airbnb it, and go do your travel thing.
Right,
There's not a lot of renovation. That begs the question. So if the price is going to be $260, $265, and the loan is going to be $200, what does that mean?
We have to have the rest in cash.
You've got to come up with a way to do the equity. So in y'all's case, maybe you talk to a family member or a parent and make a business deal with them, and maybe they get 40% of the deal. They help you with the credit enhancement, they help you with the down payment. Maybe you treat it like they get a second mortgage and you pay them a little interest rate. That to me, if you give up 40% of the deal for somebody to put $50,000 down payment in, and y'all are putting the deal together, y'all are the managers, y'all are the leasing people, y'all are the ones to deal with every problem forever, then that to me is a fair structure. So they get 40%, y'all get 60%, y'all are not putting the down payment in. You're gonna have to set up an LLC with some documents that would provide for what if y'all don't like each other, and how do you buy one out or buy the other one out? You may ultimately end up with 100% ownership. But to me, in y'all's case, you're 23 and Cam is 22. You're a cougar. So y'all are young. Y'all are just starting this journey. So to create an equity, that could be a retirement annuity or something for you in 30 years or 25 years, my point is 60% of something valuable is better than 100% of nothing. So maybe consider that with, with a family member. You can also solicit, like investors, if y'all do like wedding photography or y'all do special events and you got a well-heeled, client that you've gotten to know and they do repeat business with you, you could say, would you be interested in a real estate investment with us? And I can help you with the membership documents, the partnership
Right.
documents. You want a really good buy-sell agreement that everybody talks about and understands up front, because people change, partners change. And I used to say, coming out of the fraternity that I was in, that fraternity brothers stink after 3 months, you know, or 3 rent checks that they didn't make, and I had to pay the difference.
Yeah.
And partners can maybe smell after 3 years or something. When y'all get to a point where you can borrow on your own, you're not going to need to do that, and so this partner's going to be getting a free ride, and
Right.
maybe you buy them out. So, but this is certainly something to think about. I think it's a great
Yeah.
property.
I
Y'all
love it.
evaluate the location, drive around. There's a block that's being, there's a whole block, a city block that's being revitalized. That's walking distance. It's
Okay.
3 blocks from here. There's already 5 or 6 restaurants. It's a great little, provides a lifestyle boost to your tenants that you're going to be marketing to.
Right.
But it also presents a steady flow of potential tenants from the people that are going to be working at those shops and restaurants and bars. So I just think I'm really excited about it for y'all to think about it. It may not be your choice, but I thought it was really worth
Yeah.
your time today to come check it out.
I think so.
All
Thank
right.
you.